I left. Um, I left for the States. I moved to the States for an opportunity with General Electric aircraft engines in 2003. Then moved to London to study to get my MBA, and from London moved to Abu Dhabi for a while. Then I moved to Bahrain. I was a few years in the Middle East, and from the Middle East I moved to Australia with the same company, and always in the heavy industrial area, mining, steel making, aluminum making. Those were the customers I had while I was there, and then of course mining when I lived in Australia, and then kind of wanted to be kind of on the right side of history. So if I move a bit from, not a bit, I moved from one extreme. I was in heavy industry, mining, steel making, heavy polluting, and ginormous footprint, carbon footprint. And then I moved when I moved to South Africa, and I changed industry, and I went to renewable energy. So I work developing projects, energy generating projects in Africa, mostly hydropower. Hydropower is not technically, well, it is renewable, but in modern standards, or with the current sensibilities, it isn't. It is renewable, but it's not considered sexy renewable. Only if
Mhm.
it's very small with a you know how it is. It's You can't build a giant dam these days unless you are in China. But in Europe, in Chile, you can't build dams anymore. So hydropower, only small hydropower is considered sort of sexy renewable. But anyway, I was doing that because I figured that's where the world is going, and that brought me back here because Chile is an interesting market when it comes to energy, especially renewable energy. We are doing several things that are very innovative in terms of regulation. For instance, the market Chile is regulated, or rather deregulated, to a level that's pretty not comparable to other countries. So the speed which you can develop a project here is unbelievable. So in Africa, we're talking years, decades even, for some large projects. It takes you a few years just to kind of present the paperwork, get your first rejection, so you have to reapply for environmental approval. And in Chile, you can have a solar photovoltaic plant from inception to first electrons coming out of it. It could be 3 4 months for a small one. So that's why I'm here, because that sort of speed doesn't happen anywhere else in the world. And there's like I said, there's a lot of innovation in the regulatory, in the legal framework for this market. So that's kind of brief. I could tell you stories for the whole day, but that's kind of briefly how I got where I am, what I'm doing now. And as we're colleagues at the university, so I teach at part-time at the university, San Sebastian University.
What do you think about the university, my friend?
Well, this is being recorded, so university is fantastic. No, no, no. There is potential. Look, what I like and why I joined is that there's a lot of work to do, and so I want to be part of that process. Maybe marginally. See, I'm only a part timer there. I don't make decisions, but I compare it to my alma mater, Católica. Teaching at Católica is different because it's an old traditional university. Everyone is kind of set in their ways, and they don't really need to change much because they have the reputation, they have the prestige. That's the best rank Chilean university. So there's no much of a need or a push to change. Like I said, they have pretty much they are where they are. They just need to stay there, and that reflects. And if you teach there, your mission is exactly that. You focus on your course. And that's it. Whereas at San Sebastian, there's more opportunities to participate, to get involved. because there's a lot of work to do. That's the reality. There's no two ways about it. It's not San Sebastian is not at the level of Católica. We hope and we all work that one day it gets to that point. But today, there's a lot of work that needs to be done, and that I find interesting. I find it exciting being part of it, so I can say in say 20 years. Maybe I'll tell my son. Maybe my son will go to San Sebastian. I'll be proud to tell him, look, I helped make this university a great university. And so that's what I'm hoping, that in 20 years or less, it is at the level of Católica.
Do you think that what we are doing is the right thing to do, or we need to improve something else at the
Yeah,
moment? I
there's,
mean, with
there's
the
yeah,
with the with the funding we have and the condition, the boundary condition we have, we are moving within. What do you
yeah,
think
that's
about that?
uh,
Yeah,
my
because
opinion
you
would
have
be that
the view
yeah,
from abroad, from a big university, and how can you
yeah,
imagine the right path for the university to go through so as to achieve
yeah, yeah.
their goals?
I'd say, well, it's of course one of those questions that there isn't really a clear answer, because there's too many factors to consider. My personal impression is that the university is spreading a bit too wide, spreading a bit too thin, and and I'm sure there's of course a commercial strategic reason for that. But the risk is that you kind of lose focus and perhaps don't become one a run of the mill. That's the worst risk, that you are just one run of the mill private university without much to show. So what I would do if I had any influence in it is I will probably focus and maybe I don't think you can reduce the number of careers now or career paths there. But at least what I would suggest is say stop. No, no, don't create new careers, and then focus on and spend more resources on what we have, because I understand that the market evolves and there's new demands, and then students want something else, and now there's probably more demand to go into energy, less interest in going into I don't know, agriculture maybe. I don't know. So yeah, I understand the market changes, and there's the incentive to create new degrees and new diplomas and things like that, because you need to fund the university. There's are commercial considerations. That's very clear, and university has to pay salaries. I do want my money at the end of the month, like everyone else. So I understand that. Um, but I think there's you need to strike the balance and to avoid that problem that you are jack of all trades, master of none, or as we will say in Chile, you're hugging too much, so you don't squeeze hard enough.
And that,
That's a bad
that,
translation of our Chilean
and that's
saying.
it. And that seems to be true, actually. But what do you think about the infrastructure of the university? When I say, I mean the people, the academic staff, the students, the administration, the higher authority, and so on. Do you think we can do something better? Um,
Yeah, we can
although
always
the
do
although the
better.
limitation we are facing at the moment, because you see we are working online and we have many complications.
Yeah, right now it's hopefully a transitory situation, but it's um, yeah, no, right now we can't do much. I try the it's difficult to well, one difficulty we face is that the type of student, not so much the quality, the preparation of students, which yeah, it's an issue to some degree, but mostly is that we don't get exclusive dedication. Most of our students have commitments. They have families, they have part-time jobs or even full-time jobs that they try to combine with university, and that has always been a problem. And I think that it's been exacerbated by the pandemic for two reasons. One, everyone is struggling, so our students are also getting second and third jobs, but also because the classes are online, there's a perception that they don't need to attend, and then they will say, "Oh, we'll watch the video later," which no one does. So this will be a year to forget, and just like last year was a year to forget. I don't think there's much we can do but survive and hope that this doesn't last, because it's um, that's what happens. I sit in my dwindling audience. There's fewer and fewer students attending, because I think that's the rationale. They think, well, there's a video, so I'll work during the day and I'll study at night. When I get home, I'll watch the video, and then they never do. So they're missing on that experience. We don't want them to. We want them to participate. We want them to ask interesting questions. We want them to satisfy their curiosity, not just to watch a video and try to survive and just pass. So we're losing, and that's also the reason I teach. This is uh, uh, not my sort of main occupation, but it's fun. And what I like is the university atmosphere. What happens in the corridors, not so much the teaching, but you leave, you finish, and then you bump into students, and they will want to ask you something, sometimes a personal question, sometimes a technical question, academic question. um, Sometimes it's just a silly conversation, and that, of course, we can have now. There's replacement. There's like yeah, you can have the your lectures online, and there's just some tools to kind of make it a bit more attractive and maybe work on that. But you will never recreate the informality of those corridor conversations in with any technological tool. No, we are now using Zoom, but it's not the same, because the moment you had to plan, um, yeah, it kills the kind of kills the moment. It kills the spontaneity of the moment. No one's gonna. If a student's got a, it happened to me last year. Some students were curious about the international experience. So some had uh, lived abroad briefly and they wanted to return, so they want to ask me, how about getting the paperwork, or how likely it is to find an opportunity, things like that. And some organize this, and they said, "Oh, I'd like to ask you a question." Sure, sure, let's have a Zoom call tomorrow. But that was one. And there were 50 other students that wanted to have the same conversation, but they were a bit too shy. And like I said, it's not the same as just tapping on the teacher's shoulder in between classes and asking something simple. Those things, that's what I really miss. And that's an important, not just important, it's a crucial part of university life. It's not, you don't go there just to study. You go there to interact with other people, get different ideas. That's how innovations happen. You talk there, not just formally in a class, but in the corridors during lunch breaks. You sit there, you share a coffee with or share some I don't know, or a snack with some students. So that is university life, and that we don't have now. And I really hope that this doesn't become the new normal, as that's a new sort of buzzword. Oh, it's the new normal. No, university doesn't work like that. Yeah, we can have online lectures every now and then. Sure, it kind of we are surviving, but that's not university experience, and we're missing on so much. And so I just can't wait. So I'm really hoping that second term, um, second half of this year, we go online. And the other problem is that, as I'm sure you know, everything is sort of standby. You don't get because everything is transitory. We're all just waiting for you to going back to the in-person classes. So if there's no willingness to invest in, say, better tools for, well, actually, no, I lie. There was an initiative to make online teaching better, but it just didn't work. And now we are just essentially waiting for this to be over and go back to normal. So it's a bad place to be. There's
That's
no incentive to do anything new. We're just counting the days to go back
well,
to
that's
school.
not going to be too easy, to be back
Oh,
to normal. So tell me something. We have brain to think, not just to comb our hair. So my question is very, very simple.
Not that you have a lot of it, but yes, yeah, I see your point.
The idea is how can you see our future lecturing online, my dear friend? Because you see, I'm a chemist, and I know very well that you cannot have a vaccine, a good vaccine, in a period of time shorter than 5 to 6 years. Now, with all the advances we have in nanotechnology and so on, we could have it perhaps in 5 years. So at least we need 2 or 3 years more to go. In this kind of, in this kind of process, which is very painful, and therefore we need to do something better, and we need to think about how to start teaching our students and to seduce them. Firstly, you see, to attend the classes. Secondly, to get connected and to listen to the class if they can. Thirdly, to exchange ideas between them. That's why you see my groups, in all my courses, I have groups of students. I want them to interact and to exchange some ideas. And the more I do, the less good result I get, I think, because either they are too busy or they are just trying to pass the course, which is really is not very good at all. Now, what would you suggest if someone put you and say, let us see, Nestor, what do you think we should do having that kind of condition at the moment?
Yeah, I'm not too sure. I thought about it, and every time I try something, essentially the problem becomes technical, the connectivity. So, for instance, in very specific, I wanted to organize a demonstration. Something that I found, uh, let's say, I was actually no, I didn't just find. I was shocked to know that my students in the underground engineering course, they don't know how to choose a ventilator, a fan, um, and which is the same process as choosing a pump. You know, when you go and buy a pump, you don't just buy a pump. You have to essentially you go through the chart, the performance curve of the pump, and choose the operating point, and see if that pump works for you, or then maybe pick a different one because it's got an operating point that will be more efficient. That sort of thing. And if it's a bigger investment, the manufacturer will run a simulation especially for you. And it's the same with funds. I'm interested in that fund, and it'll be $1 million fund. So for that, they will do a complete study. So I wanted to. So I thought my students knew that, and I said, no problem. I'll show you how it's done. And but it's been difficult. So that the dynamic nature of a fan is not really understood. So when I tell them that, for instance, thinking of the ventilation of an underground mine, you have a fan working at a certain speed, injecting so much air inside. If there's a change in configuration in the mine, then the volume of air will change because the fan reacts to it. And if there's more pressure, it'll be less air. So you need to consider that factor. So that concept, that idea has been very difficult to instill. They, I thought they would know that from before, but they don't. So no problem. I'll teach them that. And I wanted to first organize a lab. So I asked if I could go to the lab and use the materials there. And they told me no, absolutely not, because it's closed for everyone. So fine, I'll do then a demonstration at home. So right now I'm mounting something with a vacuum cleaner as my fan, small cheap anemometer, and I hope that that kind of makes it more interesting. And the limitation is that the class is very static, and what will make it more interesting, and I know this is not practical because it will be just too expensive, But if this was like a TV show with a professional cameraman doing different, doing a zoom of this and then edited in a way that,
Yes.
oh, let's look at this. And now let's look at the presentation. I don't know if you remember, there's there was this film by the presidential candidate Al Gore in the States. Al
Yeah,
Gore
I
had this
remember him very well. Yes.
an inconvenient truth. That in the end, of course, 20 years later, we know that most of it was wrong and it was mostly a political thing. But regardless of that, visually, it was brilliant. It was very engaging, and the film was actually an evolution of a presentation that Al Gore had been doing around the world. So he had honed it almost to perfection. So the flow of it and the visuals, of course, the little polar bear that drowns, that actually never happened, but that's besides the point. So the little polar bear, the animated polar bear, things like that, the combination of visual resources in that film, which was a essentially a PowerPoint present, a turbocharged PowerPoint presentation, that was brilliant. So if we could do that, it would be great. Because I know that my class, I try to make it entertaining verbally. It's um, the the narration is entertaining. I tell stories, try to make it engaging, try to tell stories that will help them remember some concepts. But visually, it's plain. It's I had to say it's boring, and it's boring because if I try to push it, if I try to show a video, it collapses. No, the system collapses. So we can't do that. So it is doable in theory. I can totally imagine, if they give me the resources, I know exactly what to do. The type of things we combine and some footage from real life, and then we'll have a lab, then we'll have a professional animation. This is what happens, and and some sort of field uh, well, the videos from film, from the field, from actual mining operations, that sort of thing. So I can totally imagine almost like a documentary of it. And yes, that will be engaging and visually attractive and will keep people interested. And so that's, I think, is the main limitation. It's difficult to make something visually attractive. We are limited to plain, in all senses of the world, PowerPoint. It's PowerPoint without video. Essentially, we're throwing a PDF. We're showing a PDF. We're not actually using the PowerPoint capabilities make the system collapse. So we had to show a PDF, which of course is plain, doesn't have any animation, any depth, and that is, well, it's well known, it's a well studied phenomenon that you can't really keep people engaged with PowerPoints for more than about 15 minutes, I think. So that's where we try to cut that and mix with other things, but even switching between media is difficult. For instance, I explained something and I noticed that it's not very clear, and I switched to whiteboard. The switch to whiteboard is very quick, but the switch back to the document that I share is not so quick.
Yes, they're not quick.
And so those little things, and that's when you lose. That's when you lose people. So, oh, okay, guys, give me a second. The system is loading again. And that's when they start checking their phones, and then maybe there's an important thing on the phone, and then you lose them forever. So to keep them engaged, this has to be visually attractive, and it's I know it's beyond the possibilities of the university right now, because I know there's some budget, and Andres is talking about having some videos professionally edited, but that will be one or two, not every class.
It's
And
that would be impossible actually with the
no, no,
budget
no,
we have
it's
at the moment. Tell me something. In your course, you are teaching at the moment, this semester. How many students do you have?
the official list is 19,
And
and
how many of those really get connected? Answer your question, because some people get connected, and
oh,
when
I
you
know, I know, I know. There's
call them and you say Mr.
silence.
X and Y and no one answer, it's like
I
people
know.
get connected and then get back to their bed actually.
Now the numbers are sad. So 19 total universe, and
You
on a
get
good
four?
day, I get 8 that connect, and some people come and go. I think the maximum I had at any one time was 9. And those to participate are very well identified, and there are two
So you
that
see,
actually make questions right in the chat, and if I ask them, they reply right away because they are paying attention.
no, Néstor, one of the difficulties that it need to be discussed with the student, with our authority and so on, and really the need we have to improve the system. Nevertheless, we have something else, is that we need the engagement of the students. And at some point, I don't know when this is likely to happen, you see, I think we will need to get more involved with the student, say by using Zoom or whatever, right? So, for instance, in one example I have in mind is that is I'm teaching this English for a specialty, as it is called actually. But the student had 4 courses before mine, the one I'm teaching at the moment. And the student, what they want really is to carry on the same system. Say, for instance, how are you? What is your name? This is the ceiling, that's the window. And would you like to have a cup of coffee, the tea, and so on? And that has nothing to do with the reality. The other day, for instance, since I use Word, YouTube, and WhatsApp, the 3 tools together, plus the classroom, I started doing a lecture in physical chemistry, thermodynamics, just as an example. And some students, 1 or 2 of those, they say that they didn't want to listen to that. And the idea, you see, was to tell them, look, this is the way, this is the kind of, and the level of English you should have if you want to have a technical and professional talking to someone in the very near future. And the student refused that. On top of that, yesterday I was talking to another authority from Concepcion, from the same career, the mining, major mining, and the lecture there is really a bit sad because the students do not get connected. So there is no
Hmm.
way to actually, and you see, in my case, it's even worse because the students claim that they don't have earphones. So how can you actually,
Yeah.
teach English under those conditions?
So what would be the normal, the non-pandemic situation at the university? Is there like a lab with headsets, or is it just your normal classroom?
No, no, the normal class, there is a teacher there,
Mm.
and she teaches the verbs, the past tense, and that kind of things. I have been to, I was to, I will go to. That is the kind of,
Yeah,
that
yeah,
you
that
can get.
that's
But who
that
cares
that
about that?
exactly. Yeah, yeah. No, that's it's a shame. There's a fine balance, and well, not so fine. But it's the we of course we want students to graduate and have a job, be successful, and support their families and that um and the but there's some areas where we should be more demanding and make it very clear to students that you need to achieve certain standard before you can get your degree, because there is a well, I, it's not exactly to the point, but just to illustrate what happens, and I'm sure you know, and you've noticed that too. So back in the 90s, so I was getting my degree. I got my degree between 93 and 99. So at Católica, we had a teacher, and Ignacio Lira. He well, I assume in thermodynamics. He was probably doing something else as well, but I took thermodynamics with him, and it was very good, very, very good. And actually, I don't know what happened to him. It's been 30 years, so maybe he's not around anymore. But anyway, so We were going to, let's say, it was, I forgot, but Católica is very structured, and you only have lectures in the morning, and the like the exercise sessions with the assistant teachers in the afternoon, and then tests after 6 p.m. Very, very structured. So the lectures are over by, I think, let's say it was one. And most of us will stay there, wait for these exercise sessions and just to chat, have this university life that I mentioned before. But if you had something to do, the minimum required was to attend lectures. So at one, people go somewhere, sports, home, whatever. So yes, we were there, and it was getting close to one. And root students will start making noise with the zippers, closing their bags just to signal to the lecturer that okay, it's about time, closing the books loudly. And then the leader said, "Oh, that's an interesting question. That reminds me." And then he clears the
The
whiteboard.
board, yes.
I said, "Let me show you this." And he starts explaining something new. And you hear the grumbling. It was a lot of there was a lot of unhappiness in the air because, come on, it's 3 minutes to go. Make it quick. Because and he noticed that, of course, he wasn't stupid. He noticed, turn around. I said, this is a very interesting phenomenon that I think only happens in Chile. So he cleared the whiteboard again and drew a chart. I'm going to chart student happiness against uh, the length of the lecture. So then to a point. All right, the lecture is 1 hour, 20 minutes right here. If I finish the lecture at 1 hour, 20 minutes, let's call that the base case, 100. Now, if I finish like 3 minutes before, immense joy because you get to leave before the rest, you get to the front of the queue at the restaurant, at the canteen, or you beat traffic, you get into your car and out of there was a traffic jam leaving the campus. 5 minutes before, there's even more happiness. Ooh, I can get to the loo and then get into my car. Before I finish, ecstatic. There will be, the best day in the whole year. But if I finish 15 minutes before, then you start thinking, oh, wait a minute, I'm paying for this. I want my 15 minutes of lecture. I pay.
Yes.
If I finish 30 minutes before, no, no, no. And then to the other side, if I finish 30 seconds after the class, yeah, if 100 was the base case, now we're talking 80%. 2 minutes after class, you see people in the out of the window, you see people getting to their cars, getting to the canteen. Now you see you're not going to get your food, you're not going to get the food you want, and then after 5 minutes doesn't matter anymore. You might as well stay for another half an hour because you miss all your opportunity to get out of here and get your food. So yeah, I thought that was an interesting chart, and it's true. It was exactly true that you wanted 1 or 2 minutes before was great, and but also it was true that not everyone agrees when he says, "Oh no, I want my 15 minutes. I paid for this." It's not exactly like that. And then he also corrected and said, "Well, I know there's people here that only want their degree, and if he kind of said that it's not just the chart for one class. If I don't show up, if you arrive here and there's a notice on the board saying Mr. Lira is sick and you're not going to have the class today, you'll be celebrating like that. Yes, because your immediate thought will be less material that to study for the next test.
That's true. Yes.
That's the first thought, and it is true. So it happens. But then I did my exchange in Birmingham, United Kingdom. So that was my fifth year of engineering. And the so I took a few courses in different faculties, and I remember well, it's still the case today. There's a lot of Asian students in the UK, and in one of the courses, that exactly happened. That situation, the professor couldn't show up. Something happened, and I thought, meh, I was kind of neutral. because to be honest, I didn't go on exchange for academic reasons. It was mostly life experience. So yes, I attended all the lectures and I passed all my courses, but I was also there to see the world, see England and Europe. So when I saw the notice and the teacher couldn't, the professor couldn't attend that day, I thought, well, that's just fine. I was kind of neutral. But the Malaysians wrote a formal complaint because in the end we said, oh, we'll figure out a time. We'll recoup this class at some point in the near future. 2 weeks later, we still hadn't recovered that class, and the Malaysians were incensed. They said, no, this is no, this is unacceptable. We want the professor to make himself available. We want that hour, 50 minutes of class because we pay for it. And they were furious, absolutely furious. The sort of the leader of the Malaysian club, because there were a lot of them complaining. So I saw that and I said, yeah, there's a long way to go for us. This will never happen in Chile. No, there will be a mild complaint, but secretly everyone says, yeah, great, easier, just shorten, less material, less things to study for the next test. That's a huge cultural difference. And I don't think that will ever change. No, it is what it is. We are where we are, and we have to deal with it. So if students will never complain, and some will ask for more, and those are the ones that will be successful in life. And yes, I have one or two that if I tell them some interesting case, and they will WhatsApp me or text me, say, oh yeah, the case you mentioned, could you give me some information? One or two. The rest are happiest if if it's like now. There's this reading week, so one fewer lecture, 1 hour 20 minutes less to study. So that attitude will never change. We have to deal with it, and it's difficult. It's a problem because there is this the ultimate goal is a degree. The degree is all that matters. A piece of paper that says, I can sign for documents now. I'm a full civil engineer. I can sign for drawings and get a job somewhere. But very few students, and I'm not saying there aren't. There are some, and like I said, those will be the successful one that try go beyond the minimum required. And I'm sure you've seen it, and we do the thesis. Some students will try to push for the easiest thesis that gives them the minimum to approve. Others will keep expanding. Oh, this gets interesting. I'll add another chapter, and I should add an experiment to this to prove this theory, and because they want to learn. But that's the 1%. Most will just go for the absolute minimum, and we have to deal with that. We have to kind of increase the minimum because they will go for the minimum. So back
Yes,
to your point with English, yeah, the minimum required, unfortunately, is very low, and that's the target. That's the goal of most students. So I think we just need to make it harder. Say, but back to I don't know how it is today, but back in '93 when I joined Católica, English was compulsory unless you pass a test, and the test wasn't easy,
you
and
see,
most people failed the test.
for instance, at the University of Chile and the Faculty of Engineering, and there you see from today I was listening to that. I was watching a video because you see, I studied there. I worked there for all my life almost, and they're doing exactly what we are doing here. You see, which means many members of the academic staff of the university and from abroad, they give lectures. And that is the general policy of the faculty at the moment. So they had the experience of people from India, from the United States of America, from Asia, and some people from Russia as well. So they have more experience, more people. Now, what I'm planning to do, you see, this is one of the reasons that I'm very grateful to you because you accept this invitation, is that we're going to start something like this. But I have good connections, good people around, and therefore The idea would be to have something like this going on a regular basis for the student, so the student will have two opportunities. The first one is to all the activities involved in the lecture, right?
Hmm.
And all these additional lecture given or sorry delivered by very important people all over the world. I think that's the only way, perhaps, I'm thinking, perhaps the only way that we can actually seduce the student to love what they are doing. Because if there is a lack of love, you are going to achieve something very negligible. In other words, nothing.
Yeah, yeah. That's a very good point, actually. That's a very good point. So we want them to love what they're doing, and that's probably where we're failing. See, what happens is, I think, is that we take it for granted that students they all have a passion for whatever they chose, and it's not always the case. So maybe chose something because it's family tradition, family pressure, or because they saw the ranking. Ooh, the best paid graduates are from this, career. So we actually don't know. This I'm just assuming. Um, kind of brainstorming a bit, but um, I think it is I would say unique to engineering, but it could be maybe a more pronounced problem in engineering, because you see, no one is going to theater, no one goes to drama school for a reason other than they love drama, they love performing on stage. You don't go there because you just happen to kind of, there was nothing else to do. Yeah, might as well become an actor. No, you need more of a passion. So I think for people who study anything in the arts, they they choose that for a reason, especially because it doesn't pay well. So you don't become an actor to be rich. You don't decide to be a painter or sculptor because you want to be rich, because you want. So in engineering, I think we get I wouldn't I don't know the proportion, maybe two, three thirds, like a third that know what they're doing, they're passionate about it. That was my case. I've always been mechanically orientated. I was disassembling things, making inventions at home, fixing cars, my parents' cars. Before I went to engineering schools, I was passionate about mechanics, mechanical engineering. But no, then maybe it will be a third that uh, see, I have a guest. Let me just entertain him.
She's more than welcome.
He just woke up, so I'll put a video he loves. Shaun the Sheep. This is British animated stop motion thing. Where is that now? Oh, there's that.
Don't
Yes.
worry, let her to be around. And that's all. How old is she?
No, he's three. Jorge, say
He's
hello
three.
to Uncle Roberto.
Hola. He's really very handsome.
Well, like his father. See.
Yes, I can see it. Yes.
Actually,
He's a very nice
yeah,
guy.
he looks like I stole him. Yeah, he
Yes.
actually looks like my wife.
Where did you steal the guy from? He's
Yeah,
he very nice
yeah.
actually.
He got the colors from my wife. So blonde, curly, blue eyes, very white. So yeah, he looks like my wife. Anyway, so
Where is your wife from?
South African.
Pardon?
So, South African.
Ah, South African.
South African.
Now I
But
understand.
interestingly, a lot of people here think that there's only black people in Africa. So when I say South African,
No, they don't even know what they are talking
no,
about.
exactly, they have no clue. There's super white people in South Africa. Not the
Well,
majority, of
well,
course,
you know,
but
my
yeah.
friend, that in Chile, people knows everything. Everything, whatever you talk about, they know, they have an answer. The
Oh,
answer may be wrong, but they have an answer.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Uh,
And
you know
most of
what?
the times,
Speaking of Ignacio Lira, that teacher of thermodynamics, I told you, something that actually impressed me is that a couple of times he, they will ask him, some student will ask you something, and he'll say after a while, I don't know. I'll get back to you.
Well, that is the point.
Most professors will say, oh, okay, I'll make it up. They will never know, but they will never say, I don't know. But he will say, oh, that's, I don't know that. And of course, he will research and come back with an answer next week. So I respected that a lot. He never improvised. He never kind of bullshitted,
Well,
technically speaking. Yeah.
when I was working, I was really working very, very hard in England, doing my PhD. And there was a problem, my dear friend, that was formidable. Metric, it was 50 times 50, and each element of the metric was a polynomial function. So that's a very complicated problem to solve. And well, and one day, you see, uh, I discussed this problem with a mathematician, a very good one, and he said to me, look, at the canteen, there is a guy, he is very fat, he's always sitting at the back and drinking a lot of beer. That is the only man who can solve your problem. Well, actually, since I used to go to the canteen, I was very young, so I used to drink beer, soft beer, but it was beer, it was no water. And so I decided to walk up to this guy one night and I said to him, look, I want to talk to you. And he said, okay, no problems. And you are the one who has a problem with computing. And I said, yes, well, bring some beer and we can talk about. And since I knew that, and the only thing he wanted was beer and beer. So he was just about to finish, a pint of beer, and the other pint had to be there to carry on talking to you. And after that, I think I was a bit dizzy myself because I cannot drink that way. But I did explain to him the problem. And all my pages see a lot of equation I had derived myself. I like very much maths and that kind of things. And I said, well, this is the problem. And I have been told that you are the only one who can solve it. And he said, I don't know. Now, come back to me tomorrow at 6 p.m. and we will have a discussion about this. But I need my beer. So the other day, my dear friend, I went there to this guy. He was sitting there with a pile of paper, right? Do you remember the old computer? They use a very, very wide and very long.
Yeah, very wide with the perforated edges.
That kind of routes. And I hate that. But anyway, and he said to me, look, the problem is solved. That's the solution. And now you have to buy to me something like 6 beer before you go. So I paid for the 6 beer and I went straight to my office to look at the answer. The answer was perfect, my friend. And I'm still really, really amazed and confused how a guy like this, you see, a bit drunk, can solve such a problem. And my friends, you see, I had a lot of professors of mathematics from India, from the United Kingdom, and from the USA, and they didn't know how to solve the problem. And this guy knew. Have you found in your life someone like him? It's very unusual, actually. Well, very, very unusual. Well, the problem we have at the moment, you see here, is that we need to improve the quality of what we are doing at the university and to improve the quality of our students and that kind of things. Tell me, from your experience abroad, I've been teaching abroad for a long time as well. From your experience, what do you think you can do? What would you do here at Universidad San Sebastián to improve the quality of the students? With the media we have, with the resources we have, and with classroom, this kind of thing we have. Is there any
Yeah,
way
it's
you can see or no?
um, so just to clarify, you say you had to improve the quality of the students. You mean you had to attract the better students?
I mean, the quality of the student means, to make their, to feel that they must learn.
Yeah. Well, like back to my previous point, I think we first need to know, have a clear idea of what we have, what the situation is. Um, I know from, see, I don't know all of them. I mean, I know all of them because everyone needs to take my class. So it's not optional. So everyone goes through that. But I only see them for a term, and only very few like to talk kind of outside the class. So I don't know them that well, but I can tell that say last year when I completed the course last year, they were out of 30. I reckon they were 8, 9, but let's just say 10 for argument's sake, a third. They're actually interested, and I could see by the type of answers they gave. So I gave all the tests were asynchronic, so they had time to research. And with, yeah, I reckon a third, for instance, there were questions like, you know, pick a commercial fan, a commercially available fan that will solve your ventilation problem here. So that required them to go on websites of manufacturers, download the data sheets, and see how the fan behave under certain conditions. And that was the deal of the exercise. And I told them, oh, you'll get brownie points if you pick your own fan. And most just use the same data sheet I provided as part of the class. I said, we'll work with this fan just to show you how it works. And they picked that one. So I think I forgot the brand. It started with like Schauenberg. I, I think a Schauenberg fan would be perfect because I just didn't want to research or spend any more time. And to be honest, to be fair, yeah, it was perfectly good. That's why I said brownie points. And then about 10%, they did some research. And I'm sure they had to use Google Translate to understand pages in English from other manufacturers. And they chose other manufacturers. So um they made that extra effort. And okay, there were brownie points, there were a couple of extra points, but they didn't do it for that. They spent the extra time because they are interested. So that would say 30, well, a third, 33%. Then there was another third that were say neutral, that you they wrote kind of what needed to be done, but no, you couldn't sense any passion or any interest, any like short answer, medium answer. And then the other third were literally you could almost say that they hated mining, and it was, why are you here? And it's not so much getting the wrong answer. Fine, I accept that maybe they didn't understand, get the wrong answer, but when they had to propose something, you could sense that there was just no interest. And the people that were passionate about it, no, they also got it wrong, and some even failed. Some they got below 4 in some of the tests. But you could see that they tried. They spent time. They wanted to try something new, and they wanted to show you that they knew about it. That they wanted to demonstrate that they had read about it, and they had done the research. Yeah, fine. Maybe they got it wrong, but there was this interest, this passion behind. Then there was the neutral type, and then, like I said, there was a third group that maybe they were just at the wrong career. Maybe they, so I don't know if they got there because of family pressure. Maybe they thought it would be different, and then they were disenchanted with it. I don't know. But I think we first need to, I don't know if we can organize a survey that would be completely anonymous, so that they will be free to say, no, I don't like it. Oh, I am here because I want the money. Oh, I'm here because it's a family tradition, a proud family tradition, and I want to honor my ancestors by being the best mining engineer. I don't know. I don't know whether the reasons to be there, but it would be very interesting to know what brings them there. And I can tell you from my university days. So there were 313 of us at first year civil engineering at Católica. Say 50 were like me, with a passion for engineering, passion for making things, passion for designing, creating, not necessarily machines, but things. So some very good electronic engineers that went on to found their own companies, and and that was 50 out of 300. I'd say a good 150, half of it, half of the clase católica had no interest whatsoever in engineering. They just wanted an industrial engineering degree to go and work in a bank. And 20 years later, today they're doing very well, working for a bank, working for insurance companies, but they never had any interest in engineering. They knew it, they didn't hide it, they never tried to fool anyone, and they were interested in the financial course, in the management courses, at
Yes.
which is
Finance,
analytical
accountants. Yes.
finance, or stochastic modeling, and accounting, all those management courses that they see towards the end if you go for industrial engineering. They will just pass. Like thermodynamics, I don't care. Design of this, electronic circuits, just minimum, because that wasn't their interest. I don't know if we have students like that, that they are not interested in mining, that they will never go and work on site, and they just want to go and work for a bank or for an insurance company. And because well, I'm sure you know, in England, the degree doesn't matter that much, because degrees are short and you don't really specialize at university. And you'll see an ad, typical job ad in the UK is, say, Barclays management, what is it, management, no, graduate management path, or graduate management sort of intake. And it literally says, we want graduates of with any degree, literally any degree between
That's
20
true.
and
That's
23.
true. Yes.
And so they join a company to pretty much do an apprenticeship. Companies don't expect them to know much. They just want to mold them. They want them to prove that they went through university, so there is some intelligence, there is some talent, but they're not really interested in hiring specialists. So that's how it works over there. Engineering degrees are only 3 years long. Some arts degrees are 2 years long. And so you are working by 21, and it doesn't really matter what you learn. And you need to get a good degree, a first or a 2-1, the top 75% or top 25%. And then you kind of learn on the job and progress in your career. In Chile, the model is different. We were supposed to be almost experts, but longer degrees, we learn a lot more. We know a lot more details of engineering if we want to, and then we can go straight to a research position. In my case, I was an R&D engineer. That was my title after that was my first job. In England, you will be an assistant. Just you had to kind of work your way through. So in here, your degree pretty much dictates what you will be doing, whereas in England, your degree is almost irrelevant. You can do whatever you want with any degree you want, as long as you get accepted by the company you want. So in here, I'd be interested to know if, and I don't know, maybe the university has this information. Maybe they ran a survey before, they've asked this question, but we need to know that before we can plan and how to make students more interested, because maybe we'll never get them interested because they were never interested in the first place. Maybe they're studying mining engineering by accident, or family pressure, or because they want the money and they never want to be on the field because, I can't be bothered. I'm not going to campsite. I'm not going to the north, the desert, the dust, heck, the heat, the height. No, I want an office job in Santiago. So we don't know. We don't know what the ultimate goals is. And as I said, I know very well that at Católica, out of the 300, easily 150 had zero interest. So you would never get them interested in labs. There was no point in spending more money in laboratory, in better facilities, which Católica didn't, because they knew very well their audience, their market. And our labs were far inferior to Universidad de Chile, far inferior, order of magnitude inferior. But that was just fine because no one really cared. I was the only one. I was the only one disappointed because our mechanical engineering lab was pathetic compared to the one at Universidad de Chile. Most of my classmates didn't really care. One professor organized a tour to a new sawmill. At the time, it was the most advanced sawmill in the world. They, also Arauco, had commissioned this sawmill, and it was a turnkey sawmill bought from some Swedish company, and it was literally the latest, the latest and greatest sawmill, and fully, well, this is the 90s, so we're not talking, this is pre-internet days, but still, computerized everywhere. The control room was it felt like the Enterprise from Star Trek, because there was a big window, you could see the whole factory, and the operator had two giant joysticks and a few screens. So at the time, it looked galactic. Today, it probably look dated, because today everyone wants just a one big touch screen. Back then, it was cool to see gauges here and screens and more screens here and the two big joysticks. So anyway, we went to see that, and out of the okay, this was after we chose the specialty. So about 100 people go to mechanical engineering, um, and out of those, I think 12 sign up. Of course, I was the first one to say, "Hey, I want to see that," and it was a can't remember if we had to sleep somewhere. No, it was a day trip. It was a yeah, I think it was a kind of long day trip. We had to meet at the university at midnight. Then there was a charter bus to take us to the place near Concepcion. We go there at say 10ish in the morning and did what we had to do. And then the same bus brought us back kind of midnight the following day. So we didn't need to spend time in hotels. It was just one very long day. This was paid by Arauco, at the time owned by Copec. It was the Angelini Group, because one of our classmates was the grandson of Anacleto Angelini. He said, "Yeah, I'll call my grandpa and he'll pay for this." And you think that the whole university they would kill for this opportunity, but no, they didn't. Maybe at the Universidad de Chile, yes, that would have been the case. They would have killed each other to get into this tour of the most advanced sawmill in the world, but not there. So I don't know what the situation is at San Sebastian. It will be really interesting, and I think it's key to know what motivates them, what brought them there, to see how we can keep them, how we can make them more interested in learning. Because like I said, they say my course maybe it's just too specific, and they probably think I'll never work on site, so I don't need to know about underground mining. And maybe they just want to work in the mining space, but not really in a technical field. Maybe they just want to work in HR, in mining, but
That
still
very true,
HR.
actually. That very true. It may be right. But there is something, you see, I believe that one of the tools we could use actually is to get more students involved in research. Uh, I think it's the only
Yeah.
way actually. And what I do means in Santiago is that our career, we don't have facilities to do research and funding to do so. Because you see, quality means two things: time and money. You cannot get quality, achieve quality without those factors, which are times and money. It does take times and it does need some money. And that's the only way. Otherwise, you see the student uh, may end up with the impression that the whole career is just watching at PPT and that kind of thing, which is not a real class. It's not a real lecture.
Sure, sure.
And people get very bored.
Definitely. Yeah.
And I don't know, but you see, if you feel, I mean, if there is someone in your life and you want to attract that person, it could be, say, for instance, a beautiful lady, you have to make an effort. You have to do something about it. Things just do not come from the sky. Well,
No, I agree with you. Yeah, we are losing people, we're losing interest definitely because it's not what they paid for, it's not what they expected. It's definitely not university experience. Just watching a presentation or video, it's can't think of anything worse than that. You don't talk to people, you're not, and yes, if there aren't any. See what in my case, what brought me my main interest, my main motivation when I chose to go to England on exchange on my fifth year here was not so much the academics, because I knew that in Chile, the academic level of, well, at least Católica, is pretty much world class. Where we lack, well, maybe University of Chile not so much because you have better, they have better laboratories, but at Católica we didn't really have facilities that were world class. But yeah, all the lecturers are multiple degrees, PhD, couple of masters, and they taught in different universities. So we had that, and I didn't expect to meet someone like Richard Feynman. No, 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 no. I thought the classes would be the same, and they actually were. They were not more demanding. The tests were not more difficult. Passing the course it was not more difficult than in Chile. But I was interested in the facilities. I was interested in um, uh, using those facilities, and it was exactly what I want, exactly what I expected, and I was very happy. For instance, um, we had, well, I didn't take it, but I know that one of the electives available at Católica was robotics, and the course was actually was very sad. Full respect to the lecturer, he was my supervisor for my final year project, Luciano Chang, but the money wasn't there. So the all the labs were with a SCARA robot that was homemade. So the university had put something together, some stepper motors, and this thing kind of sort of moved, and they played a bit with programming, very rudimentary programming. This is before Arduino and before USB ports. We had to program that through the parallel port, and and that was a robotics course. Pretty sad. So the one robot was something that you could easily see. I mean, it was handmade, and you see insulating tape holding the cable, so it worked. It was a good learning tool, but it wouldn't get anyone passionate about it. Or nothing to write home about. You wouldn't go home and say, "Ooh, we play with this robot." And then
Mhm.
I went to Birmingham, and we didn't have one, not two, not three, but a good 20 industrial robots. Nothing, no makeshift things, but proper branded robots. So the biggest one was a KUKA, a German industrial robot, the one that's used at car manufacturing plants, car assembly parts, the one that kind of puts the panels together and welds them. I think the payload was 250 kilograms, which is a lot for a robot. And that thing was just to play with it. I was an exchange student. I was originally there for 6 months. I ended up staying for 1 year, but I was just the one guy from Chile, country most of them didn't know. They expect people in Chile to walk barefoot and be poor, and that perception of third world.
Yes, that idea they have.
And they let me play with the robot. At the time, that thing probably cost a good 100, $200,000. So they gave me the control. I tried all the programming modes where you guide the robot and then repeats, and then you program by coordinates, and there was a software to do that. And that's what I wanted to do in England. So that dream was fully satisfied when I went to that university. Birmingham is not the most traditional or the best university in England, but it is in the industrial heartland of the United Kingdom. So we are surrounded by car factories or manufacturing plants of all sorts. And I took that opportunity to visit every plant. They say, we're going to see Renishaw. That's a company that makes coordinate measuring machines. Yeah, I'm in. Okay, now we're going to Longbridge for the rover assembly plant before the Chinese bought it. So Rover and MG cars were made there, and I went to visit that plant, and I took every opportunity to see the things I couldn't see here. And at university, yes, I was playing with that KUKA robot, playing with a smaller one, somewhere kind of didactic, no, pedagogical, no, instructional robots, not industrial robots, but still they were paid. It was a factory-made thing that had proper software, not the makeshift thing we had here. So that for me had an immense value, more than the academic. It was the opportunity to play with those things. So that did the trick for me. And yes, it would be one way to get students more excited if we had a proper lab, or if we could organize more site visits and get them involved at the beginning, show them what they can do. So maybe first, maybe the first the first year, take them to, I don't know, El Teniente or Chuquicamata, and something big, or maybe a more modern one. Oh, give me one second. ¿Qué cosa quieres decir? Oh, ¿quieres jugo de chocolate? We don't have Hohoju. First of all, show the sheep. Déjame poner show the sheep. Oh, T-Rex, ya. ¿Cuál T-Rex? ¿Este de acá? ¿Ese? ¿Ese? Ese T-Rex. There's a shortage of strawberry milk in Chile, or at least where we live. We can't find it in the supermarkets. Actually, no, it must be Santiago, because my wife works in La Barnechea, and she's checking the supermarkets over there and supermarkets kind of along the way. And we can't find the strawberry milk he likes, the Colun, and everyone likes the same. Colun is very good. It's been a problem. It's been a crisis, and anyway. Right. So yeah, that you're right. That will get people motivated, but we can't possibly afford that. We can't wow the students, because that means a lot of money. Now, if we say, all right, guys, we're gonna get, what could we get? Something that would get me motivated. Say we got and some sort of instrument. Oh, this is to get so X-ray refractometer to analyze something. So we'll be bringing minerals and doing some research for mining companies. I don't know. Maybe a third of the students will go, yeah, I want to see that. A third will be meh, and the other third wouldn't even know, wouldn't even read the email, because they're not there to learn that much. So it would definitely help, but I think it's beyond the possibilities, because everything is big and expensive, and but maybe the opportunity, the alternative to explore will be the cooperation of mining companies. They're all willing to spend money in the community to kind of wash their image or improve their image. So maybe that would be a possibility. That the mining company now, I forgot the name, that they have a fully remote operated or remote control mine.
Yes.
So imagine visiting that control room in Santiago. That's easy. It's here in Santiago. No need to arrange for a bus or flights. And that would be very interesting. And surely that can be done. It's not going to hurt that
There are
company.
many things that people should think about how we are going to proceed in the future. Because you see, in the way we are doing things, we're doing our best. But I don't think we are getting the right interaction with the students. And Andres and I, we wrote an article, which is going to appear very, very soon, in a very prestigious journal, on education. And there you see we are underlying the problems we are facing, the way we are thinking, how to solve them. And perhaps I should send you a copy of the article.
Yeah,
And,
actually, yes. Andres sent it to, I haven't read it yet. It's my weekend read, but yes, he sent the.
you have a copy of that. And you see, but there is a lot of open question at the moment. For instance, my friends in the USA, they have told me that students at home, online, they learn about 30% of the whole content of the course. It's about 30%. Those are number. Those are the data they have in the USA.
Hmm.
The other day, I was talking to a very distinguished professor, friend of mine in the UK, and the situation there is even worse. Not many people really are interested to learn, to do something new, you see. Although this guy, they prepare an experiment that people can do in their own kitchen and that kind of things, you see. And even so, these people don't do the work properly. And reason, you may find many reasons, but those are people who are going to be the professional in the future. Can you imagine a medical doctor, you see, without the right knowledge, and uh, and if you need a surgery with a doctor like that, what is going to
Yeah,
happen?
yeah, yeah.
And you see, there are a lot of problems which we need to think about, and in the but very quickly, I might believe that because I don't think that this pandemic situation is going to be over very soon. In the second semester, there is no way that it's going to be over, and so you have to think about 2022 at the very least. Do you think we can survive teaching online as we are doing at the moment? Because the other day, for instance, at the University of Chile, they are not very happy, the lecturers and the students, because they are not interacting properly.
Oh, no, 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 no. Well, just look at the numbers. You know, the a lot of students have deferred their studies. Says, well, we're gonna take a year off. You know, work makes some money, but I'm not gonna waste my money paying for this half-assed experience. Pardon my French. And which, yeah, if you have the time, it's perfectly valid. Why would you uh, pay, full price for this limited university experience? I don't know exactly the numbers in at San Sebastian, but I believe a lot of students have done just that. They frozen the studies, sort of uh, taking a year off. So they'll be back hopefully when the pandemic is over. So we already lost a few, and of course that's income that's lost and it can't be replaced. And I don't know how was well actually I do know well I have anecdotal evidence of people that in I work I do some work for a company that offers Kaplan. Now they offer training courses for international admission tests like SAT, GMAT, GRE, and we well I can say we because I don't own the company, but we work together. The we've seen a huge decrease in demand for all these courses. So everyone, you just think about it. No, in the extreme case, MBA, European MBA, London Business School, £40,000, £42,000 per year, 40 million peso, just the fees to go there. Now, would you pay that kind of money to sit at home in London and have these virtual classes? Of course not. It's not the same. Nowhere near the same. That kind of price helps you to put it in perspective. If you pay 500,000 peso a month, yeah, it's a lot of money, but you can sort of kind of live with it. Say, "Yeah, well, it's just 1 year. I won't get the same experience, but that's fine." But if you take it to the extreme, would you pay 40 million, like 4 million a month for online classes? Of course not, because it's not the same and it will never be. And so I know that a lot of people who were, well, generally, let's say this company will have 100 students taking TOEFL courses, thinking of postgraduate degrees abroad. Now we're looking at 30. The GMAT courses are running at a third because, yeah, ya, al tiro, Jorge, en un segundo le doy jugo. So the interest of studying abroad, everyone is postponing. Like I said, you're not going to pay that kind of money to do things online. And if you were going to do it online, then might as well stay here and pay a third, well not a third, a tenth of the cost. So the same thing is happening. Like I said, I don't know the number. I am assuming we lost about a third because last year I had 31 students, now I had 19. And that must be because people decided to defer and just wait it out, wait till the pandemic is over and do some full-time work in between. So we already lost that because the people that have it's very clear, and we had a whole year to experiment last year, so people had the students experienced the 1 year online version and they didn't like it, so they decided to wait. So yeah, we will survive in the sense that the university will still be there, but there will be an effect, there will be a cost, and maybe some students won't come back, or they'll well, good for them if they get a good job and they don't need to come back. But it will require an effort to uh, give them what they want when they come back. Because if they defer the studies, they know exactly what they want. They're more demanding than the ones that just want to finish quickly and they take whatever. It's just to finish their degree.
Yes, I understand the point. Nestor, something I would like to ask you is, well, I told you that I'm planning to have some technical talk in the very,
Yeah,
very
no,
near
no,
future. So what I'm going to do is to get in touch with people like you and that kind of thing, and mainly in English, of course,
yeah,
and some could be in Spanish. We can have I need to find the right balance. So I need to make an organizing committee. I never want to work on my own and do things in the way I think it should be, because I learn from everybody. Everybody has something to teach me. Would you be kind enough to join me in this organizing committee to
yeah,
think
yeah,
about these technical talks and that kind of
yeah.
thing?
Sounds interesting. I think it will definitely help having not all the students will be interested, but those who are really interested will really appreciate having that
But we
opportunity.
are going to do this openly. I mean, people from
Yeah,
everywhere can have access to this talk, and we are going to do all
yeah,
the marketing and all that kind of things. My plans
okay,
are to have something going on for about 2 months. Have at least one or two lectures or webinars, I would say something like 60% in English and 40% in Spanish, because more people, more people know English abroad, and they don't really speak Spanish. So that's roughly the idea. So, well, that would be wonderful for me to have an organizing committee. And do you have some people who might be interested in this kind of ideas, and or you can think about and let me
no,
know?
I'll think about it. Yeah, I know a lot of interesting people, and but of course, whether they'll be interested in this, I'll see. But yeah, I can think of a lot of names that I can try to, you know, uh, get into. Yeah, there's of course time differences, things like that to coordinate. But yes, in principle, I should get some interesting people to talk about. Well, I'm assuming with this will has to be related to mining.
No, yet, not necessarily.
Okay.
What I would do is something related with engineering,
Okay.
material science, and we can have physics, mechanics, chemistry. I mean, a very wide offer. And all we need to do is organize the items properly with the right
Hmm.
people
Hmm.
at the right time and so on. This is all we need, actually. Well, it has been a real pleasure, Nestor, to talk to you. And
Likewise, thanks Roberto for the opportunity,
I'm
and
going to
hope.
send you the link for this talk for you to have. And I have been really, really interested. And I did enjoy the conversation. And I hope I did not interrupt you too much,
No,
because
no, 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 not at all.
the way I do interview is that the people speak. I have sent you some link of the
Yes, yes,
people.
I saw a couple. Yeah, I saw Andres' interview. Yeah.
Oh, that was so good, actually. Well, my regard to your wife and to your very handsome son. You have only one,
Yeah, only one. Anyway.
and 3 years old.
Yeah,
Well, my dear friend, do behave properly.
I'll see. I'll see what I can do.
And I'm very happy, and well, it has been a pleasure to know you better and to know your background and that kind of thing. Well, thank you very much indeed, and we shall be in touch. Right?
Oh, thanks, Roberto. It's good fun. It was a pleasure.
Bye, bye, my
Anytime.
friend. Bye, my friend.
All
Bye,
right.
bye.